Level 1. Your first bass. Every bassist has to start somewhere, and for millions of players, that journey begins with a bass that costs less than a new smartphone. Maybe it's a Squier Sonic Precision bass hanging on the wall of a local music store, a Yamaha BB234 recommended by a friend, an Ibanez GSR 200 arriving in a cardboard box, or, if you're a Beatles fan, the iconic Hofner that you've wanted ever since you first saw Paul McCartney holding one. Whatever the model, this is less about finding the perfect bass and more about getting your hands on an instrument that makes you want to play tomorrow. The great thing about buying a beginner bass today is that affordable instruments have come a long way. Manufacturers have spent years improving quality, and it shows. Comfortable necks, dependable hardware, and surprisingly versatile pickups have become common, even on entry-level models. The Yamaha BB234 can comfortably take you from your first lesson to your first rehearsal. The Ibanez GSR 200 has earned a reputation for its comfortable neck and flexible PJ pickup combination. While Squier Sonic Series gives new players an affordable way into the Fender family, without sacrificing the familiar precision bass experience. That does not mean there are no compromises. The electronics are usually simpler, the pickups are less refined, and the factory setup is not always perfect. In fact, a professional setup can completely change how one of these basses feels, often making it play far better than its price would suggest. That's why many experienced bassists will tell you that setup matters just as much as the instrument itself. The price range here sits between $150 and $300, and for that money you are no longer buying a toy. You are buying a real instrument from a trusted manufacturer, one that can teach you a proper technique, survive countless practice sessions, and perhaps even take you to your very first gig. Level 2. The serious upgrade. This is usually the first upgrade that surprises people. You pick up a bass that's only a couple $100 more expensive than your first one. Play a few notes and suddenly realize the problem was never your fingers. The neck feels smoother. The tuning is more stable, and everything responds with a confidence you didn't know you were missing. Between $300 and $500, competition becomes fierce, and that's great news for bass players. The Squier Classic Vibe Precision Bass has become the gold standard in this category for good reason. Its neck feels remarkably refined, the classic precision tone sits beautifully in a mix, and many experienced players happily take one to rehearsals or even gigs. If vintage rock is calling your name, the Epiphone EB3 delivers the growl and attitude of a much more expensive instrument. Players after something modern often land on the Ibanez SR300E, with its slim neck, active electronics, and enough tonal flexibility to cover everything from gospel to metal. Perhaps the biggest compliment you can give this tier is that many people never leave it. Instead of replacing these basses, they upgrade them. Better pickups, locking tuners, a new bridge, maybe a professional setup, and suddenly the instrument you bought as an upgrade becomes the one you keep for the next 10 years. And this is why many working bassists quietly believe this is where the best value in the entire market lives. Level 3. The working musician's choice. Ask a room full of experienced bass players where the best value lives, and you'll hear this price range mentioned again and again. This is where instruments stop feeling like upgraded beginner basses and start feeling like professional tools. Somewhere around this price, you stop throwing your bass in the corner after rehearsal. Now it gets wiped down after every gig, sees a luthier more often than some people see a dentist, and travels in a case that costs more than your first practice amp. Whether it lasts longer because it's better made or because you've become ridiculously protective of it is still up for debate. One bass that completely changed expectations in this category is the Sire Marcus Miller V7. When Marcus Miller partnered with Sire, the goal was surprisingly simple: build a jazz-style bass that ordinary musicians could actually afford. The result caught the industry off guard. Here was an Indonesian-made instrument with outstanding fretwork, vintage-inspired Alnico pickups, an 18-volt active preamp, and build quality that reviewers compared to instruments costing 2 or 3 times as much. It wasn't perfect, but for the money, very little came close. This is also where you'll find basses like the Fender Player 2 Precision and Jazz. Yamaha's BB734A, and the Ibanez SR600E. Instruments trusted by countless working musicians because they simply do their job night after night. They stay in tune, record well, and feel dependable enough that you stop thinking about the bass and start thinking about the music. Perhaps that's what defines this level more than anything else. You're no longer buying potential, you are buying confidence. Around $600 to $800 is where many bassists discover they already own everything they need. And from this point on, every extra dollar buys refinement rather than necessity. Level 4. The Feature Hunter. By the time you reach this level, the conversation changes completely. Nobody is asking, is this a good bass? That question was answered hundreds of dollars ago. Now the discussion revolves around details. Does the neck feel faster? Are the pickups clearer? Is the bridge transferring more vibration? Does this bass disappear in your hands so all you notice is the music? That's exactly where instruments like the Ibanez SR Premium, Fender Player Plus Jazz and Precision, Yamaha BBP34, Sire Marcus Miller 5 and P Series, and G&L Tribute L2000 begin to shine. This is the price range where manufacturers stop asking, how do we make it affordable? And start asking, how do we make it feel premium? Suddenly you're comparing Nordstrand pickups against noiseless pickups, roasted maple necks against traditional maple, stainless steel frets, compound fingerboards, monorail bridges, active versus passive electronics, and even debating whether a satin neck finish really is faster. None of it feels like marketing anymore because these upgrades genuinely change how the instrument plays, sounds, and holds up after years of rehearsals and gigs. Around $1,000 to $1,500, you begin paying less for dramatic improvements and more for refinement. To a beginner, those differences might seem almost invisible. To someone rehearsing, recording, and performing every week, they're the little details that make a bass disappear in your hands and let you focus entirely on the music instead of the instrument. Level 5, the professional standard. Cross the $1,500 mark and something interesting happens. The conversation shifts away from features and toward heritage. These are the basses that have spent decades on world tours, platinum records, and some of the most recognizable recordings ever made. Whether it's a Fender American Professional 2 Precision bass, a Music Man Stingray, or a Rickenbacker 403S. You're holding an instrument whose reputation was built long before it landed in your hands. The upgrades at this stage become much harder to explain to non-bass players, but bass players notice them immediately. Better pickups become the biggest difference. You start comparing split coils to humbuckers, passive circuits to active preamps, Alnico magnets to ceramic, debating whether Nordstrand, Aguilar, Delano, or Bartolini gets you closer to the sound in your head. The fretwork is cleaner, the nut is cut properly from the factory, the tuning machines feel smoother, and suddenly details like roasted maple necks, stainless steel frets, graphite reinforcement rods, or high-mass bridges stop sounding like marketing and start feeling like genuine upgrades. None of these changes magically make you a better bassist, but they remove the little annoyances that used to distract you every time you picked up the instrument. This is also where many iconic designs continue to prove why they've survived for generations. The unmistakable thump of a precision bass, the articulate growl of a jazz bass, the punch of a stingray, or the unmistakable voice of a Rickenbacker are sounds that producers and audiences have trusted for decades. Level 6. The Bass Enthusiast. This is where names like the Fodera Emperor, Ken Smith, BSR, MTD 535, F-Bass B&M 5, and Sadowski NYC Vintage J start appearing. Nobody is arguing about whether these basses are good. They're debating which one best matches their ears and their hands. Some swear by the unmistakable mid-range character of a Ken Smith. Others love the effortless neck profile of an MTD. While many consider the Fodera Emperor one of the most versatile basses ever built. F-Bass owners chase its open organic voice. And Sadowski players appreciate how naturally their basses sit in a mix. There is no universal winner because each builder has spent decades refining a different idea of what the perfect bass should be. Crossing into the $2,500 to $5,000 range means you're no longer paying for dramatic improvements in quality. You're paying for refinement, consistency, premium materials, and decades of experience from builders whose names have become legendary among bass players. At this point, choosing a bass becomes less about finding the best instrument and more about finding the one that feels like it understands you. Level 7. The Dream Build. Eventually, some bassists stop searching altogether. Instead of asking, what bass should I buy, they begin asking, who should build it? At this level, buying a bass almost feels like hiring an architect to design your dream home. You're no longer walking into a music store hoping the perfect instrument is hanging on the wall. You're sitting down with a luthier to discuss neck thickness, string spacing, body balance, target weight, fret size, pickup placement, electronics, wood combinations, and even how the instrument should respond when you dig in with your right hand. Every measurement, every contour, and every component is chosen with one player in mind. This is the world of Carl Thompson, Alembic, Ritter, Fodera, Masterbuilt Program, and other independent custom shops where instruments are built one at a time rather than rolling off a production line. Some builders have waiting lists measured in years, not months. Carl Thompson's basses have been played by Les Claypool. Alembic became legendary through players like Stanley Clarke and John Entwistle. While Victor Wooten and Anthony Jackson helped turn Fodera into one of the most respected names in boutique bass building. These aren't just expensive instruments, they're often the result of decades-long relationships between builders and musicians. The funny thing is that countless legendary records were still made using ordinary precision basses, jazz basses, and stingrays. A custom-built instrument will not improve your timing, your groove, or your musical ideas. What it offers is something much more personal, an instrument with no compromises, built around the way you play rather than the average player. Some custom builds begin above $5,000, while the most exclusive commissions can climb well into 5 figures depending on the builder, materials, and level of customization. Yet, ask most owners why they invested so much and they'll rarely talk about the price. They'll simply tell you that, after years of searching, they finally found the bass that disappeared in their hands and let the music take over.